Christmas, we do a sermon on the birth of Jesus. Easter, we do one on his death and resurrection. And it would only make sense that I would want to do a sermon on mothers, right? It would make perfect sense. So I'm coming in here this morning, I'm getting the bulletins for Mount Carmel. And Bob, he always grabs one and looks at it and goes, "You didn't do one on mothers?" I was like, I was hoping nobody would notice. So I want to preface this by saying that mothers are our first contact with love and nurturing, right? It's our first contact as human beings. We are formed in the womb and we get all the nourishments we need to grow from our mothers. And they are, as those of you who have just all boys know that, you know, as men, as fathers, we teach our boys manly stuff, right? We teach our boys how to be men, how to take responsibility as a man. We teach them how to be a man, right, Rich? We teach them how to be a man. Our mothers teach us how to love and nurture. I'm not saying that men can't, but our mothers teach us how to be loving and nurturing. And our mothers teach us how to be compassionate, maybe. You know, so our mothers play a very valuable role in our lives. And it's funny because with my oldest two kids, I do a lot of things for them. I'm the one who always takes them to the doctor. I'm the one who always goes to conferences. I'm the one who does basically everything. And I get this a lot from nurses who are maybe new to the doctor. I'll have nurses come up to me and go, "Isn't it so nice that you do that?" I'm thinking, why would you say that? I mean, those are my kids. Because in today's day and age in society, it's, you know, sometimes we don't teach our kids to be better than what we had. As teachers, maybe you see that with some of your students. You know, the parents just don't really care. And I think that's sad. I mean, my mom and dad grew up in an orphanage, and so they've always wanted me to have it better than them. And the fact that they were in my life, that meant that I had it better than them. And as parents, we want to pass that on to our children. We want our children to have it better than we have. You know, and if you don't have kids, maybe it's nieces, maybe it's nephews, maybe it's, you know, the neighbor kids, or maybe you know, whatever. But we always want to try to pass to the next generation, hopefully to have it better than what we have. And now I'm not sure how this ties into this sermon this week, but I'll try to make that happen. This is about patience, which is something that I'm not very good at. When I want something, I want it, not now, I wanted it the day before yesterday. I want things to happen like that. Don't want to wait, don't want to work for it, I just want it. And sometimes that can be a very bad thing. Sometimes we have to wait. Sometimes, as my mom used to always tell me, good things happen to those who wait, but not to those who wait too late. Good things happen to those who wait. And usually that is true. Good things happen to those who wait. As a kid, you know, I couldn't wait till 14 years old is when over in Ohio we got to ride a scooter. We got to get a moped. And I couldn't wait to get the moped because I was one of the youngest kids in my class. And so a lot of my friends were already having mopeds before me. And I just couldn't wait. I didn't understand why they could have a moped and I couldn't. But again, you had to wait till you're 14 over Ohio. You had to take a test. And then when I took the test, I flunked it. So I had to wait another week to go and take the test. And that week was the longest week of my life. Oh my goodness. I had to wait another week. I waited all these years to get a moped, and then when I go take the test, I flunked it and had to wait another week. That week took forever. But then I finally got my moped, it was fine. And then all of a sudden, a year and a half later, everybody else started to get their driver's license. I wanted my driver's license. Forget the scooter. The scooter was so last week. I want my driver's license like everybody else. Nowadays, kids, my son's 18. He'll be 18 Wednesday, and it's like, dude, when do you get your driver's license? Not at all. You know, I think kids, and my cousin's kids are like that. We have so many kids there was a study out that majority of kids now, whatever, I think they think technology is going to transport them somewhere because of how technology, maybe they're on their phone, they'll somehow get transported like Star Trek somewhere. But again, I had to wait till I was 16 to get my driver's license. Even though my other friends were driving, I couldn't drive. It was illegal. I had to wait. I had to wait. And now it's like, oh my gosh, you know how it is with kids, you got to drive all the time, and now it's like, oh, gosh, especially when you get speeding tickets. It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. So, we have to wait on things. We have to wait for things to happen. We have to wait. Some things are good. Get a driver's license, that's a good that's a good occasion for someone to have in their life, right? Get a driver's license. Turn 18, get to vote. We wait on these things. What happens if you're wanting someone who's sick to get better? You see somebody else who may have cancer and they breeze right through it. And then you have a loved one who's ill and they're struggling and they're struggling and they're struggling. And they're doing everything the doctor says to do and they're still struggling. Or maybe you want something in life. Maybe you feel like there's something missing in your life and you want it and you see everybody else has it but you. What usually happens when we are wanting something in our lives and we see somebody else have it and we don't have it, what usually happens? We start questioning. We start questioning God. We start questioning ourselves. We ask questions. Why do they have what I want and I don't? Why am I so bad to not have what they have? What did I do so wrong? Then we start to think that maybe God is punishing us for something. I must be a terrible person because I'm not happy like they are. What's wrong with me? Why did everybody else's marriage suddenly work out and mine didn't? What's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. There's something bad. We start questioning why. We want something in our lives and we want it now. And we want answers to it. We want it fixed. It's sad when that happens, when we see somebody else have what we want and what we think we deserve. And we want it, and sometimes our want becomes a possession. Teenagers, as most of us either have teenagers now or have had teenagers in our lives, and all of us were teenagers at one time. We all can remember what it was like to be the 14-year-old kid who wanted to drive at 16. The 16-year-old kid who couldn't wait till he was 18. I have an 18-year-old, my son's going to be 18 Wednesday, and I keep trying to tell him, you better get a job. You're going to be 18, you better start paying for things. Quit asking me for money all the time, get a job. Of course, he's still got a year of high school to go, but he's 18. 18 years old means you are an adult. You want to be an adult, here it is. And I remember when I was 18, when I turned 18, I remember that. I couldn't wait because I could do whatever I wanted to do. Remember that when we were 18, we could do whatever we wanted to do. I don't have to answer to my parents. I didn't understand anything about the consequences of being 18. I couldn't go to my mom and my dad and my stepdad. I couldn't go to them to help me out, to bail me out, because I was the adult that I wanted to be. And when you're an adult that you want to be, you don't have anybody to back you up. It's you. You're responsible for it. I wasn't ready for those consequences. You mean to tell me that I got to pay for my car insurance now? You mean it's you don't have to buy me a Big Mac sandwich? I got to go get these things myself? Unbelievable. 18. That's a very scary time. So I told my son, you're going to be 18. I can't bail you out. Yeah, you're struggling in school. I can't do your homework for you. You got to do it yourself. This is your responsibility, not mine anymore. And it's a scary thing when you're met with the responsibility at that moment. But teenagers, well, you got to love them, right? And there's a famous teenager in the Bible found in Luke 15, the prodigal son. Luke 15:11. Now, we don't really know this kid's age. We can assume he was a teenager. We can assume that it was when he was 18. Who knows? But the story goes like this. He had an older brother. Now, how many of you, Amy, you're the oldest, but how many of you have an older sister, or are you the oldest? You're the oldest. Betsy, you're the younger. How many times did you see your sister get to do things that you didn't get to do and you wanted to do it? And your mom and dad say, well, you're too young. Or the flip side of that is my oldest two kids, well, why doesn't Max get in trouble with that? Well, because he's 10 and you're 17. You have a little bit more responsibility. He can get away with stuff because he's young, he's still learning. You should know better. Or Max like, well, why can't I do that? Well, because they're 16 and 17 and you're not. So how many times did you do that? Well, I want to be able to do what Kate does. And mom and dad were like, no, you can't. Maybe that's what was happening with this kid. Maybe he was seeing his older brother do things that he wanted to do. Then all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe turned 18, who knows, but one day he decided to go to his dad and say, you know what, Dad? Give me half my inheritance now. I'm gone. I don't have to listen to you anymore. And what did the father do? He gave him half his inheritance. And off the kid went. Lived a wild life. He lived a life that he dreamed about living. But just like always, the grass is really never greener on the other side, right? It only seems that way. Sooner or later, it turns into quicksand, and the kid began to sink. Ran out of money, a big famine happened. He needed to survive. He wasn't living anymore. He became a survivor. And so he went to a place that was feeding hogs. That's the only job he could get, was to feed hogs. Feed them the slop. And he was so hungry because nobody would give him anything to eat. He was so hungry that he started eating the stuff that the pigs were eating. He thought, oh my goodness, what have I done? If I go back to my dad's house, the servants eat better than this. Maybe my dad will hire me on as a servant. Maybe he'll hire me on as a servant. And so off he went. Off he went. He went back home, and what did his dad do? His dad, another symbol of, kind of represents God in this story, but he also represents patience. Because the father was waiting for his son, and when his son was far off, he ran to him. Now, do you think that father, the moment that the son left, wanted his son to be back to him? Absolutely. When our kids leave, don't we want them back at that moment? Absolutely. We want them back. But sometimes we have to let them go so they can find themselves and come back. So the father was waiting patiently for something he didn't have yet, which was his son to come back. He waited patiently for that. How many times in our life have we waited for something to happen and we got focused on things that we want in life? We got so focused on things that we want that we forgot to look at what we have and the blessings that God has. This young son was so focused on the fact he couldn't wait till he was out of the house that when things turned around, he finally, it fell on him, when things went bad, he finally realized that what he had at home was better than what he felt he would have on his own. What he had at home was better than what he thought he had on his own. And he went back home. What does his father do? Come in, put the finest rings on, the robes. He got exactly what he left off. He gave him exactly what he left. How many times, I know in my personal life, there have been times where, God, if you only give me this, then I'll be happy. If you only provide me with this, then I'll be happy. If you only do this, I'll be happy. And you know what? I never got anything like that. God was always reminding me, you have kids. You have a great family. I am a blessed guy. I have the greatest family in the world. I think my family's great. And for a lot of years of my life, I was too busy being on my own. I was too busy worried about being the greatest radio guy ever that I missed my daughter's first birthday. I missed a lot of firsts for my daughters because I was too busy trying to be Mr. It. I missed a lot of things. Because if I just had this, I could be happy. Well, I was never happy. I was chasing after my tail. Never happy. It wasn't until God slowed me down and stripped me of everything that I thought I wanted and showed me clearly everything that I have was when my life became peaceful. It was when my life became happy. I had everything I wanted in life. It was just wrapped in a different bow. It was wrapped in a different bow that I was too ignorant to see. God always provides us what we need. And if we look deeply and clearly in our hearts and focus on what we have now, we can clearly see that He has always provided basically what we want. It's just a process. It's just a process. We wait patiently. Everything will be fine. We look forward to something we don't have yet. The key word is yet. We don't have it yet. Doesn't mean we're never going to have it. Yet. Yet. We must wait patiently and confidently. The prodigal son's father had to wait patiently and confidently that God was going to take care of His Son, even in the midst of despair. It's sad to have your kids leave, right? Sad to have them leave the house. As parents, our worry never stops, does it? It doesn't stop ever, as much as we would like it. When my mom, still to this day, on Friday, I was calling me up and I was at King's Island. Call me when you get home. Your mom's still there. Call me when you get home. Call me when you get home. Let me know you're okay. And then if I forget, you didn't call me. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. My mom has the greatest ability, and this is the only reason why I bought a DVR, because my mom has the greatest ability to call me at the most inopportune times. I got a DVR, your mom, she doesn't. My mom would call me right when the plot was sticking in, and next thing the ring, I missed it, Mom, thank you. Or my mom would do this, and I wrote it in the play. Those who came to the Reader's Theater, I wrote it in the play. My mom would always call me, and I'd say, Mom, and if I didn't answer, she'd call back 2 minutes later. And I would remind her, Mom, now listen, here's the definition of emergency. But one time she called me, a minute later she called back, and I didn't answer it, and I thought, oh man, it's starting to worry me, something's going on. She called me a 3rd time, and I answered the phone, and I said, Mom, what's going on? I just want to know what, she was making me dinner that night. I was going to know what you wanted to eat. Mom, that's not an emergency. I'm at the store now. You've known me 40 years. You know what I like. You know? That's not an emergency. But to her, it was an emergency. It's a mom emergency. And you know, sometimes those mom emergencies are more important than anything in life, right? You know what I'm talking about. So our moms, going back, trying to fit this together with Mother's Day, our moms have waited patiently for us, for us to grow into the fine young ladies and men that they've destined us to be, right? You know, it's got to be proud. And I haven't reached this moment yet, Steve and Diane, you guys, Mark, you guys have seen your kids grow. Your daughters, you see your kids grow, and it's got to be awesome to see some of the things that you've done, or maybe to see your kids act as do what my kids always say, I'll never do that. Did your kids ever do that? I'll never do that, Mom. I'll never treat my kids that way. And then you see them do that. They always do the good things that we do that they swore that they would never do. I can't wait till that happens. I always tell my daughter, I can't wait till you do the same things to your kids that I did to you. Never. But it always happens, right? That's always right. We find ourselves becoming our mothers. We find ourselves becoming our fathers, right? I swore I would never do that. Man, oh man. You probably definitely are. You probably definitely are. So again, we have things in life that we maybe want. Everybody here maybe wants something in life. But we don't have it yet. Doesn't mean we won't have it. We must wait patiently and confidently until that day comes. And we need to enjoy what we have now. We all have our family. We all have each other. We all have our friends. We all have so many things to be thankful for. It would almost be a slap in the face to God to not enjoy that instead of focusing on what we want. Let's enjoy what we have, because when we will never be able to see clearly what we want happen. That makes any sense. So let's wait patiently and confidently together. If we want to grow as a church, we need to focus on what we have, to build upon that, to grow our church. If we want to grow as a people, focus on what we have and build upon that. Because life is too short, tomorrow is not guaranteed, and today is really all that matters. And what matters is our family that's here, our mothers. We love our mothers. And those of you who have mothers that have passed on into heaven, maybe this might be the first Mother's Day without your mothers. You're going to see them again. And they're always here in our hearts. Let us pray.